I'm really excited to share with you today's recipe. This is a family favorite, especially when the laying hens are producing a lot of eggs. I really like making these because it uses up a lot. So we're going to be making German pancakes, also known as Dutch Baby Pancakes. There's interesting debate about the history of this recipe. So the recipe I'm sharing with you today is a little bit of a twist on the traditional German recipe, also known as Apfelkuchen. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, so Amma, please forgive me. And there's a story I found that in the early 1900s at a restaurant called Manka's Cafe, owned by Victor Manka in Seattle, I believe it was, served 3 little pancakes with powdered sugar and a bit of lemon juice on top, which is traditionally what German pancakes are. But his daughter wasn't able to pronounce the German word for German, which is Deutsch. And they affectionately became known as Dutch Baby Pancakes. Whether that's true or not, I still find the story really interesting. So I'm going to share with you how to make these. It's really, really simple. I don't have my tripod, so I'm going to kind of film this in pieces and see how it turns out. So the very first step for this recipe is to get your oven preheating to 425 degrees. And don't mind my messy oven, but you're going to want your cast iron skillets in there while it's preheating. So that's your first step. If you don't have cast iron, I know some folks who have successfully used Pyrex dishes, so you can try doing that. But your skillet should be hot when you pour the batter onto it. All right, so I really like this recipe because it comes together kind of in no time flat, which is really, really nice. And you don't need a lot of ingredients. So first you're gonna need fresh eggs, room temperature. So if you buy eggs from the grocery store, you're gonna wanna take them out and let them come to room temperature. If you've got laying hens like we do, our eggs are on the counter all the time. So you're gonna need, for a single batch, I'm doubling the batch today, but for a single batch, you're gonna need 3 eggs. And I just crack them right into my blender. And like I said, I'm doubling the batch, so you're watching me crack 6 eggs. You also need milk at room temperature as well. So that's something you're going to want to have out and prepared. For a single batch of the recipe, it's 2/3 of a cup of milk. You are absolutely able to substitute non-dairy milk. I tend to use coconut milk. We've used almond milk in the past. Rice milk will work, but also will cow's milk or goat's milk will work as well. So any kind of milk or milk alternative. So like I said, I'm doubling the recipe today, so that's why you're seeing me crack 6 eggs. So again, your milk's gonna have to be at room temperature as well. There we are. So there's my eggs in my blender. The next step would be adding the milk. So because I'm doing a double batch, I have 2/3 of a cup of coconut milk. And while I'm doing this, my cast iron skillets are preheating in the oven along with, while it's preheating, sorry, they're in there, which is an important step. I'm just gonna grab my measuring cup. You need, for a single batch, you need a 1/2 cup of flour. I've always used organic spelt flour that I mill myself, but I know this will work with whole wheat flour. It'll work with all-purpose. So whatever you have, whatever you use. And you want it firmly packed into your measuring cup. So I'm gonna be doing a full cup, but for a single batch, you're gonna want a 1/2 cup. Dumps right into the blender along with my eggs and my milk that I had in there. Then I do a couple of cracks of Himalayan sea salt, but any sea salt will be fine. You probably want about a 1/2 teaspoon for a double batch or a 1/4 teaspoon for one. This recipe is on my blog and I will have the link posted below as well. Just like showing people how easy it is. And the last step is some vanilla extract, and it's a 1/2 teaspoon for one batch. And you just pour your vanilla extract in, and that literally is it. This is one of the best parts. So I'll show you guys how it all comes together next. All right, so there's everything in the blender. I've got my oven preheating, and all I do is blend it up until it looks uniform. that's it. Dinner's pretty much done, except for, of course, the actual baking time. All right, so my husband came home in the perfect time, so I don't have to try to do a selfie mode on this. My oven is preheated, so I'm gonna pull my skillet. I'll just do one at a time. My skillet out. And as I mentioned, you wanted it at 425, preheating with the skillet inside. See, there it goes. And this is when you're gonna put about 3 tablespoons of butter into your hot skillet. And it's gonna melt nicely, so I'll grab my other one while it's doing its thing. Like I said, I made a double batch. And the recipe link is listed below as well. So it's a lot of butter, but this is the only fat. As you remember, we didn't add any into the blender when we were getting the batter ready. So this is the fat source for the recipe. And so it's going to melt. While it's doing that, I always give one quick blend just to make sure everything is blended up nicely. And it's almost completely melted. And like I said, I'm doubling the recipes, so I'm going to pour about half the batter into this one. More, and the rest into the other one. And then they go into the oven, keeping at 425 for about 20 to 25 minutes. They'll be nice and golden brown. And I'll show you what they look like when they come out as well. So in they go. And they'll have, they're almost like a nice cross between pancake, a crepe, and custard. They have a really cool texture. I always like to thaw some, these are some Ontario strawberries that we picked last year, our last bag in the freezer, so we always like to serve it with fresh fruit. Traditionally, they were served with powdered sugar and lemon juice. You can use maple syrup. Really, the options are endless. So once those are done, I will show you guys what they look like. Okay, so our German pancakes have been in for about 25 minutes now. I've already taken the first one out because the skillet is smaller, but I'm about to take the second one out. And they're so neat when they come out. They do deflate pretty quickly after. But that is a German pancake, also known as a Dutch Baby Pancake. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Like I said, in the springtime when the chickens are laying lots of eggs, this is a staple for us. And we'll probably have it with strawberries and a bit of maple syrup. So happy dinner, and thanks for watching.